A big night for the Bison. Coming up, we'll tell you where Trey Lance is heading in the NFL.
What to do if you missed your second dose of the COVID vaccine.
Plus, jumping into new jobs, how to score a position in a field you didn't study. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
This is Valley News Live at 10.
The San Francisco 49ers select Trey Lance.
Bison fans up and down the Red River Valley had reason to cheer after the NFL commissioner announced that Trey Lance was picked third overall in tonight's draft.
Good evening, everyone. It didn't take long to end the suspense for the young quarterback, who said afterward that he found out just a few minutes before it was announced. Valley
News Team Sports Director Beth Houle joins us early with the details. Beth?
Yeah, Mike and Andrea, Trey Lance, the next quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, and he maybe even found out before the 49ers staff. Get this, ESPN reporting they kept the pick from their coaches and scouts, saying they knew the pick like we did when it was announced by Roger Goodell. If you have followed this draft at all, you know that third pick was surrounded by speculation. The San Francisco 49ers with the surprise of the draft, the big moment right here.
With the third pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Trey Lance, quarterback, North Dakota State.
Lance seen wiping some tears. He becomes the third straight Bison quarterback drafted in the NFL, second highest after Carson Wentz went second overall in 2016. Lance was also the third straight quarterback selected in this year's draft. Lance joins the 49ers, who currently have Jimmy Garoppolo listed as QB1. When asked, Lance said he can't wait to meet him.
I'm excited to learn from him. Everything he's done, he's a mentor for me, and I'm super excited to get there and learn as much as I possibly can.
As the third pick, Lance has a fully guaranteed four-year rookie deal. It should be around $34.1 million, which includes a more than $22 million signing bonus. Coming up in sports, plenty more on the big night.
Thanks, Beth. Bison Nation is expecting another two former players to be drafted this weekend. Offensive lineman Dylan Radens and linebacker Jabril Cox are still on the board. Well, fans gathered at several watering holes tonight, including Herd and Horns, to watch the NFL draft, waiting to see where Lance ended up. Many saw Carson Wentz get drafted 5 years ago, and now they have another quarterback to root for in the NFL.
It's awesome. He was really good for us. Brought a championship home, only played one season, never lost a game. It's good for him. I'm happy for him.
As one fan put it tonight, it's just great to see people out and celebrating Trey Lance. Meanwhile, the Bison are in Texas, ready to take on Sam Houston State on Sunday. You can turn on our Bison pregame show on KXJB at 1 o'clock. That'll take you all the way to kickoff at 2 p.m. The game will be televised on ESPN. In other news tonight, neighbors in Emirato, North Dakota are praising a 14-year-old boy for helping save both his home and others from a grass fire gone rogue. It started yesterday afternoon, taking hours to put out. The boy and his mother didn't want to be identified, but say the teens sprang into action, hosing down the area around the home. Their home, as well as their neighbors, were untouched by the blaze. Fire investigators have yet to say what caused the fire or provide us with a damage estimate. And if you need help uncovering an issue in your community, call our whistleblower hotline. We'll do our best to get to the bottom of it. Call 701-237-6576 and leave your tip.
Could Derrick Chauvin be facing another trial? Sources say federal civil rights charges could come as soon as next week for the officers involved in the George Floyd case. And as Esme Murphy tells us, the bounty for a civil rights conviction is a potential life sentence.
As prosecutors and defense attorneys prepared for the 6.5-week trial that unfolded in state court over George Floyd's death, a separate investigation continued to unfold at the federal level. During the state trial, Hennepin County medical examiner Dr. Andrew Baker said he had been questioned by federal prosecutors twice.
And then you testified a second time, correct?
To the federal grand jury?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
And that was in February of 2021?
Yes.
Sources say in addition to the Floyd case, the federal grand jury is looking into whether Chauvin could face federal charges in a second case. The grand jury heard evidence of a September 2017 incident involving a 14-year-old boy in which Chauvin allegedly had his knee on the boy's back for 17 minutes. The penalty under the federal statute can be life in prison.
And what it basically says when you boil down to it is this, that if someone's acting under color of law, a police officer, and they used excessive force and deprived someone of their civil rights, and it is your civil right to live, and they had the specific intent of violating the law, they can be found guilty.
The state case usually plays out first, and if there are federal civil rights charges, they come later. In this case, federal civil rights charges are expected before the August 23rd trial date for the 3 other officers in state court in the Floyd case. In the state case, the 3 former officers have pled not guilty to aiding and abetting second-degree murder and aiding and abetting manslaughter.
If the government brings charges, it means a separate federal trial for Chauvin and the other officers.
In your COVID-19 vaccine coverage tonight, if you missed your second dose of the COVID vaccine, experts say go get it now. They say no matter how long ago you were due, even if you're well out of your 3 or 4 week window since the first vaccine, go get the second one. Health experts say that you're not bound to the place that you received your first shot. You can switch providers the second time around, though it can create logistical problems like wasting doses. More than 5 million Americans have skipped the second dose of that vaccine. And if you're looking for options on where to get a vaccine in our area, use our V&L Vaccine Tracker. It's right on the home page of our website, or you can open your phone camera, point it to the QR code on your screen, then tap the link that pops up.
Tomorrow, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is lifting the state's COVID-19 emergency declaration, and many school districts are changing their mask policies to coincide with the move. School boards in Bismarck and Mandan are lifting their mandatory mask policies next week. As for colleges and universities, many, like Bismarck State College, say as of summer, masks will be optional.
We'll continue to have hand sanitizers. We'll continue to have temperature checking devices on campus. We will continue to have information sharing, letting people know if the conditions change, when vaccinations are available. We'll keep those protocols all in place.
Locally, most schools are keeping masks through the end of the school year.
The Marshall, Minnesota first grader who died this week due to complications from COVID-19 has been identified as a 6-year-old weekday. In her obituary, relatives describe her as sweet girl who loved dancing, singing, and painting. Health officials say while COVID-related deaths of children are rare, they can occur in otherwise healthy children. 3 children under the age of 18 have died in Minnesota because of the virus.
State leaders are spending all day and having late nights at the Capitol, and they say they're prepared to hear every last bill. 914 bills and resolutions were introduced throughout the session, and as of this morning, there were only 16 active bills left to get through. With more legislative days being eaten up, many lawmakers felt like the session was unnecessarily dragging on.
Last week, there was a couple bills that got some surprise amendments on it, and unfortunately that becomes a common occurrence, but some of these amendments have been things we've talked about throughout the session, so it's really frustrating that that's one of the things that are holding us up.
One of those amendments was a ban on government agencies and businesses from requiring someone's vaccination status, which got tacked onto a simple health insurance study. Although previous efforts to collaborate and make vaccine passports illegal in the state failed, this one was approved by lawmakers.
As jobs begin to return in the United States, we're seeing a new shift in the workforce. Our national investigative team analyzed the latest jobs data and found that there's work out there in fields that may require a little retraining. Investigate TV consumer reporter Rachel DePompa finds people switching gears midlife and jumping into new jobs.
For nearly half her life, 32-year-old Laura Evans only knew the Army life.
I served 14 amazing years in the Army.
She served a tour in Iraq and one in Kuwait. She went into law enforcement before settling on a career as a human resources specialist for the federal government.
And I plan to stay, honestly. I plan to stay for 20 years and retire. But, you know, life happens.
Laura got married. Her husband is active duty. She now lives in Austin, Texas, and wanted to travel less. So she joined a program called Galvanize, an 18-week boot camp for the digital age, turning Laura into a software engineer.
I had no technical inclinations of any kind. I am terrible at math, which, fun fact, software engineering has nothing to do with math.
While in the middle of the digital boot camp, the pandemic hit. She graduated virtually at the end of March 2020. And as nearly 6.9 million Americans were filing unemployment claims, Laura Evans went looking for a new job in a new field, and she found one with a Fortune 500 company. In the U.S., early in the pandemic, 10 million women left the workforce, and there are still 2.4 million women who haven't come back since February of last year. Laura Evans, in fact, says she was the only woman in the room in her software training boot camp.
I'm still hoping there's another female out there that wants to do the challenge.
Are there jobs out there right now?
There are.
Sean McAlmont is the president of Career Learning at Stride, Inc., a technology-based learning company in Herndon, Virginia.
I think over the last 10 years, we've seen skills gaps remain in healthcare, in certain parts of information technology, especially cybersecurity and programming.
Medical and IT jobs make up over half of LinkedIn's current top 10 job listings, occupations with the largest increase in openings in the last 2 months, from pharmacy technicians to security engineers and software engineering managers.
There are many job categories, hospitality being affected primarily, with salaries sort of under the $40,000 range that are just gone.
Sandy Mead is with MedCerts, a Michigan-based company that provides online training to enhance or help folks begin a career in healthcare or IT.
See what's out there. Find those opportunities for short-term training so you're never in this situation again.
If you're looking to reskill, experts say it could be a good use of stimulus money. The programs are not that expensive, and there are also grants out there. But do your research, not just on the career you are considering, but on the training programs itself. Read reviews and talk to former graduates.
Rachel DePompa, Valley News Live.
Still ahead tonight on Valley News Live at 10, help for those facing a gambling addiction.
But first, Hutch joins us with a weekend forecast you won't want to miss.